All right. Can everyone hear me now? And if everyone, can you guys hear me? All right, there we go. Yeah, thank you, Logic. The obvious is I didn't add myself because I mean, typically I'm used to adding every. So that's like my cue to remind me that I'm supposed to, um, that I'm supposed to, you know, join the room. And I'm so also used to so many years of doing streaming on OBS, where OBS will just pull you in right away. Yeah. So, hi everyone. Welcome to BRAP. Sorry about that. I was going on about tariffs, Doug Bowser. All right. So I was just talking about Nintendo. And so Doug Bowser actually, yes, hit that like button. Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. I really appreciate everyone's patience. You guys are probably like, holy shit, what's happening with BRAP? Oh my goodness. All right. Let me pull up this article again. So far, Nintendo is only on their frequently asked question posted on their facts page, the Nintendo's website. They're saying the first batch of invitations will go out starting May 8th from the My Nintendo store, but there's no information yet on retail pre-orders. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of pans out. Yes, that's true, Eric. That is so true, sir. I was actually talking about South of Midnight. I tried to play that before we went live, and oh yeah, let me get that super chat again. Thank you for reminding me because I did post it up here. Here we go. Donnell Brown, the $5 super chat says politics are talking about video games being bad again, and I don't care what none of y'all say. I'm buying the Nintendo Switch 2 just to play Pokemon. Hey, you know what, Donnell? Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people are worried about how other people spend their money. Hey, you know what? You buy as a consumer, you buy what you want. It's as simple as that. Simple. Logic and I were talking about this earlier today. Like the conversation about pricing and all that, it's overly people make it overly complex. It's not that complex. You buy what you buy. You buy what you like. If you don't see value in something as a consumer, you just don't buy it. You know, you don't buy it. All right. So yeah, we don't know. We don't know when the pre-orders are going to go live. Somebody in the live chat did say the pre-order sold out in the UK, and I did read some. Somebody mentioned something about scalping earlier. Yeah. So let me. So Doug Bowser actually did comment on. Oh, Mario Heat. Come on, that's not nice. That's not nice. Doug Bowser says Doug Bowser, president of Nintendo America, he did address the impacts of the tariffs on the pricing and availability of the Nintendo Switch. Some people did speculate that as a result of the new tariffs, that Nintendo had increased pricing of the Nintendo Switch to $450. But he mentioned that the initial price of $450 for the console was determined based on previous tariffs, and that the company's actively assessing the potential effects of new tariffs introduced by the U.S. government. I forget what the tariffs are on China now. That's another conversation. He said Nintendo has delayed pre-orders for the Switch 2 in the U.S. to evaluate these impacts, although the launch date of June 5th, 2025, that remains unchanged, which is exciting. Analysts suggest that, while immediate price increases are unlikely, tariffs could lead to long-term pricing adjustments or supply challenges. I talked about supply chain challenges as relates to tariffs, and I had a conversation. This is the part you guys missed when I was outside of I was still in the lobby waiting, and I was chatting away. Oh boy! Thank goodness it's Friday. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. We were talking about tariffs, and I had to explain it. It just amazed me how people don't really understand how tariffs work. I try to explain it in a way that he could understand, and I said, look, it's just essentially a tax on imported goods. Those taxes on imported goods typically lead to higher consumer prices on those imported goods, which it obviously that reduces purchasing power, can hurt households, things like that. And the other part that you missed too is that I actually had a conversation with a project consultant that looking to onboard in my company, and he had We were on a Teams chat, and he had a video chat, and he had a Commodore 64 behind him, and we just started immediately. I see Commodore 64. I'm like, oh, this guy, he games. He's playing games. And so we were talking about the Nintendo Switch because he actually held up his Nintendo Switch. Um, and he said, always leads to higher prices, not typically. Majority of the times here down under, and my company just did analysis on this. Majority of the time, it does lead to higher prices. Not 100%, but like a lot of percent. I say a lot of percent. That's not even a word. But we actually we did an economic piece, the company I work for, on this just recently about the impact of tariffs. But yeah, I mean, it's not 100% always, but it's up there. And I'd have to go back because we actually pulled a data point on that. I don't remember it, but I read it today. You're from Nigeria. No worries. Yeah, if I would have been if he had a Texas Instrument T199, I would have been impressed. Come on, I'm still impressed he had a Commodore 64. And actually, not only did he have one, he has two. I didn't see the second one he had, but he said to me, he's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting rid of it." I'm like, "No, you need to hold on to that. Don't get rid of the Commodore 64." But what was I saying? So we were just talking about the tariffs and Nintendo Switch 2. He said he was getting one. He asked me a question. He said, assuming that the tariffs impacted the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 and increases, let's say, to $700, he just threw out a number. He's like, are you still going to buy it? I said, no, I'm not. And he looked at me, he goes, yeah, I'm still going to buy it. Even if it's $700 as a result of the tariffs. He's like, I want it day one. I'm going to buy it. And that goes back to, a conversation we've had on this show. You've heard Logic talk about this. The other panel members talk about this, that consumers assign value differently to consumer products. We don't always necessarily value the same things or value consumer goods in the same way. For example, Gaming Forte has a 4090. I don't feel like the 4090 is worth the cost of admission. Logic used to talk about the speed passes at amusement parks, and I didn't see any value in that until I saw that lines to get into amusement parks or for certain rides for two hours. And I said, the hell with that. And I remember what Logic has said about the speed pass at amusement parks, and now I have a different perspective. I see value in that. There is value for me paying extra money to cut in front of the line so I can maximize my experience at the amusement park. Hayabusa, come on. No, I mean, look, Hayabusa, you need to understand something. People value things differently. We know, the GPU market, I think, is probably a great example here, right? I mean, look at the 4090, 5090 cards. Aren't they sold out? And aren't they like consistently sold out? Like Capoto 5150, what's up? He says, I love my 4090. It's so fast. But Capoto, aren't the 90 series cards typically sold out? Game Logic says, yep. And that's my point. I don't see value in a 4090. I'm not the 4090 consumer, but I'm not going to poo-poo on the 4090 consumer. I'm not going to sit there and point the finger and say they're the problem. There's a reason why, again, laws of economics, people, supply and demand. Yeah, the Game Logic is not astronomically priced. I think, Logic, you and I talked about this today, where the 90 series cards haven't been MSRP for quite some time. So, again, in this case, I didn't look at the guy and look at him side eye and say, oh, you're part of the problem. You, sir, are Rooting Gaming. You're paying $700. How dare you? No, and that's the thing. Like, Bender, I hope so. I really hope that they don't increase the price of the Switch 2. For me, probably 500's the highest I go, and I would be trading in my Switch OLED, so I would be getting some money towards that. But I had to explain to my buddy about the impacts of tariffs, I mentioned that retaliation, but from other countries, which we're seeing now. I talked to them about that and how that hurts U.S. exports, makes it harder for American businesses to compete overseas, international markets. Can hurt industries like agriculture. We know that farmers here in the U.S. rely on overseas markets. Disruption of supply chain. Slower economic growth. Oh, Hayabusa, I love avocados. See, that's the problem. I hope you don't like avocados, right? I love avocados. I love my American pickup trucks. The Tesla is not a pickup truck, by the way. The Tesla, the Cybertruck is not a real truck. It's not. It's just not. It's not. Sorry, people could fight me on that. It's not a real truck. Try towing a fifth wheel on that on a Tesla Cybertruck and see what happens. And Nitto Ridge grapples look terrible on a Tesla Cybertruck. Not a real truck. I'll stand on that hill. I'll die on that hill. Is that the saying? Die on the hill? I don't know. I don't remember. So that's Doug Bowser on Nintendo Switch 2. Eric says if you could lower it and make it mid-engine, the Cybertruck looks good as a car. You know what? Maybe like a futuristic El Camino. You know, maybe put some Daytons on it, some hydraulics. I don't know, a little lowrider. To Logic earlier said, I think Logic earlier said in the chat that he doesn't think that Nintendo Switch 2 is going to sell 150 million. That Nintendo won't hit that milestone again. I mean, and as Logic likes to say, the Switch sold Bonga, and I don't know. I mean, that's an uphill mountain to climb. I think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, never say never, but I'm in the camp that probably that believes that the 150 is going to be a bit probably might be harder to replicate that success. Not saying that the Nintendo Switch 2 won't be successful. I think the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be very successful. I think the Switch 2 is going to be very successful. I was trying to get Falky in today. He said he's traveling. Want to share a tweet here. Give me a second here. We had Wise Old Gamer on, I think, was it last week? I don't remember. I think it was last week. Or was it? I don't know. It wasn't last week. I don't remember. I don't remember. Logic says north of 100 million easy. So he's saying Logic 115, 120. I could see 100 million. I mean, Chrono, I mean, Nintendo went 8 years with this generation. I would assume they'd probably go another 8 years. I mean, that would be my assumption, considering that they went 8 years, 2017 since the launch of Nintendo Switch. I could see 100 million over 8 years. I mean, the one thing we know about the Nintendo consumer is that they love Nintendo. They love the Nintendo ecosystem. They love the IPs. And I think that's one of the things we talked about on this show was that when people were, kind of belly aching over well, I don't want to say belly aching, when people were kind of, I think, surprised, because I to an extent, I was surprised to um that Nintendo was the initially, I was the initial shock, if you will. I was surprised that they were the first ones to announce $80 games. Now, I do think that's going to be the market going forward. Next, I mean, they're ending their next generation. I think as PlayStation, Xbox enter their generation, their new generation, I think $80 is going to be the norm. My Switch almost never leaves the dock. The mobility factor is no consequence to me. I bet that one over there. Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying there, Bender String. So I just want to pick on Wise Old Gamer. He says what Nintendo is going to lose. He says what Nintendo is going to lose this generation is the kids' first console crowd. Some parents opt to buy their five. Hold on, I can't read. Some parents opt to buy their 5 or 6 year old a gaming device. Nintendo had that crowd. Family friendly image and recognizable mascots. It was a no brainer. It was cheaper than an iPad and kid friendly. Now the Nintendo Switch 2 is approaching iPad and iPhone territory. So this will be interesting to say the least. I don't necessarily agree that that Nintendo's going to lose. Now, look, I'm not going to say that some families may be turned off and say, oh, we're not gonna upgrade to a Nintendo Switch 2. However, though, I think Doug Bowser talked about this in his recent interview. He said, look, hey, people can still enjoy the Nintendo ecosystem either through the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Switch Lite. So there's still avenues to their ecosystem that are outside of the Nintendo Switch 2. You still play those games. You still be in the Nintendo ecosystem. So, I mean, again, I'm not saying that you won't have some families maybe turned off by the price. So, yeah, I'm not gonna upgrade yet for little Timmy. I'm not gonna do that. But I don't think they're going to lose the kids' first console crowd. I think there's a lot of value in their IP. I think that I mean, and I'll point to this. I mean, you remember Breath of the Wild, or I'm sorry, Tears of the Kingdom sold $70, sold to the tune of, I think, 20 something million copies at $70. I mean, Chrono Rig brings up a great point. BRAP, I'm sure Nintendo will have Switch 2 Lite in like 2 years. Yeah, I mean they'll have that, and then they'll have a like a juiced up Switch 2. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll increase the screen size or something. Who knows? But I don't. I don't necessarily agree with this comment. I mean, and the other thing too, if we're talking about, it's cheaper than an iPad. It was a no brainer. It was cheaper than an iPad and kid friendly. I mean, but my assumption is that, and again, not all. Some parents are buying their kids iPads. I'm not. Some parents are buying their kids iPhones, but kids, at least in my household, I'll use my household as an example. My kids, we bought them Fire tablets, the I think 7-inch ones that are not less than $100. They'll play games on our phones. They'll play games on those tablets. And my point is that there were any cheaper options in the market, right? Just to play video games. So if price is the issue, there are already cheaper options during the lifetime of the Nintendo Switch. And the Nintendo Switch sold to the tune of 150 million consoles. But then it begs the question: even if it is approaching for some people the price of an iPad or iPhone, do people find enough value in that ecosystem or in those new IPs to go out and buy a Switch too? And the answer to that's probably yes. Logic brings up a great point here. People don't buy them at equal value, proving what the market wants. So I don't think they're going to necessarily lose. Here we go. Market didn't buy the cheaper Xbox Series S, even though it was less expensive. And that's actually another great example, Logic. I mean, if price is what we're focusing on here, what the Wise Old Gamer's saying, pricing, right? He's comparing the price of the Switch 2 to an iPad, which can play games, or an iPhone. But then we have the Series S, which is a cheaper entry point, less expensive. And we saw how the market reacted to that. When we talk about $80 games for Nintendo, I'm under the belief that Nintendo, and by the way, not all Nintendo. Doug Bowser also mentioned something too about the case by case pricing. So I think we should talk about that because that's something that he brought up. And he said that not all Switch 2 games are released are going to be $80. Titles like Donkey Kong, actually titles like Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be $70. So Nintendo's going to evaluate games individually based on the game's scope and features. So it's not just going to be $80 across the board. We saw a little bit of that this generation with the Nintendo Switch. I talked about Tears of the Kingdom, $70. Your Logic says, even though Series S has Game Pass, Mario Kart sold 67 million units, way more than 35 million Game Pass subscribers. Logic, you know what? I didn't get a chance to watch the video, and I forget who did the market analysis. I forget the gentleman's name. You had posted it on Twitter. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I just got tied up at work, and I wanted to watch it because I wanted to talk about that on tonight's show. But maybe it's best table that when the panel gets back. We can all talk about that. But I think what's interesting is the start of the generation, people were talking about like go back to the Xbox, and I'm not saying this to say the Xbox is bad or whatever the case is. I don't think the Xbox is bad. It's not my platform. It's not my preferred ecosystem, but it's one that I still buy into because they've released some games on Game Pass. But anyhow, but I remember like the conversation early in the generation was, hey, well, I mean, here we are. Xbox has all these great, they have, Game Pass. They have Xbox Series S. It's a no-brainer. Little Timmy's going to walk into Best Buy. And then, although my understanding, according to Game Logic, and I'm not saying this is happening across the board, Best Buy is no longer stocking Xbox Series consoles on the show. I said the show floor, and they're keeping them. I guess Logic, are they keeping them behind the desk, if you will? I forget what you said to me, and I'm not sure this is happening at every GameStop. Logic just mentioned the GameStop not the GameStop, the Best Buy he goes to. Again, not saying this is across the board. He's saying in some regions that Best Buy is not restocking their shelves with Xbox Series consoles, or just leaving them in the back. Oh, no. Okay, so Logic says no. So Logic saying no. Best Buy in some regions is not keeping the Xbox Series X consoles in stock because they're not selling. I think the Logic point, though, we talked about accessibility, low cost of entry, and those things were there, right? And a lot of people are arriving to conclusion. Oh, people are going to go. Series X go sell gangbusters. Microsoft's going to take over this generation. And then we see how the market reacted, and that brings me back to my point. People are going to buy what they want to buy. People will spend premium money on what they feel are premium experiences, or what they find value in. So I am I'm of the mindset that Nintendo's probably looking at I just think about the decision to charge $80 for some of their first party games. Mario Kart World's one. I'm thinking that Nintendo They feel like the value of their content. They feel like $80 is reflects the value of their content and the experiences they're going to offer from their first party games. You look at like Mario Kart World, right? I've kind of I've openly referred to it as kind of the Mario the Forza the Mario version of Forza Horizons, right? You have this vast interconnected world, seamless transitions between tracks, richer racing experience with you can have with friends online, and they feel like, you know what, that experience is worth $80. And so the market's going to look at that and decide and assign value to each consumer's going to assign value to that $80 for Mario Kart World as an example differently. And I think that where people get in trouble when they have this conversation is that when they don't see value in something, they apply that across the board. You know, Logic and I talked about this earlier today. But they're also, as I mentioned, they're also, and this was something that was talked about, that their games are going to be priced on a case by case basis. But we kind of see that now already with just, if you look at third party releases. Chrono Rig says, I think next week Mario Kart World Direct will show more stuff. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think Logic said in the chat, Mario Kart sold like 67 million on the Switch. It's insane. But I do think that people are going to see this $80 price. Again, some people are going to say, no, this isn't for me, and others are going to buy it. But I think where people where a lot of people get, I think where people kind of miss, where people sorry, I'm listening to my kids play Fortnite together. This is hilarious. I wish you guys could hear this conversation my kids are having when they play Fortnite. It's a freaking riot. But my point is that this is where people try to apply their values or their perception of value to a product across the board. You just can't do it. It's so much more nuanced than just, oh, that's expensive, no one's going to buy it. And I honestly think given Nintendo's their the value of the ecosystem, the perceived value of the ecosystem by consumers, just based on the amount of games they've sold, the amount of software they've sold, or I said already, just the amount of games they sold on the Nintendo Switch, the amount of Switches they sold. I mean, people are going to people are going to buy this thing. And Nate says, I just don't think it's going to skyrocket to 100 million like some people think it will. I mean, I mean, it took some time for the Nintendo Switch to get to 100 million. It didn't get to 100 million in the first year or two. But Nate, I think this thing's going to sell. I mean, if we're going by Nintendo's the Switch generation, you're probably looking about 8 years. I think it's reasonable to expect, given the popularity of their IPs, the ecosystem, the consolidation of their two business models of console and handheld. I think it's reasonable to think that this is going to sell 100 million. I don't disagree with Logic. I don't think 150. I think that's a very high mark. But I do think they're going to sell about 100 million when it's all said and done at the end of the 8 years. And again, I say that because of the popularity of their software, the popularity of the ecosystem, um, and the consolidation of console and handheld. Those two businesses, they consolidate together. Hero Down Under says, I bought The Last of Us complete physical edition yesterday and I didn't think, damn, thing costs over 200 Australian. Yeah, people buy what they want. I said this earlier about the 4090 cards. I mean, people go out and buy 4090 cards, the 90 series cards, spent premium dollar on those cards. So what does that tell you about the market? There's people that will spend money on things they want. Yeah, Nate, I don't know about the hype. I mean, I don't know how we're gauging hype. Same hype levels of Switch 2. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Logic says Switch took 4 years, 9 months to break 100 million units. The Switch 2 hits that in 5 years, 9 months. That will be totally fine. Yeah, I don't disagree, Logic. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, Nate. That 90 series cards account for 1% of the gaming market. My point is that in bringing up the 90 series, that people will spend money on things they value, right? There are people that are going to spend $450 on a Nintendo Switch. There are going to be people that won't pay $450 for a Nintendo Switch because they're going to go to their local GameStop and trade and get $175 towards that 450 purchase. We're also talking about an 8-year console, an 8-year window, right? Where this console's been around. It's older hardware. You have to imagine there's going to be a segment of that consumer base that's going to be chomping at the bit to buy a console or buy a Switch 2. I shared the story earlier about the gentleman that I spoke to, who's a project consultant for my company, and that he told me if the Nintendo Switch 2 was $700 as a result of tariffs, he's still going to buy it day one. At that point, I'm priced out. I love Jordans, and for the first time since 2018, I'm seeing Jordans sitting on shelves. I've seen Jordans sit on shelves since 2018, all digital. It's not a new phenomenon for me. I don't know. Are you talking about like the rare Jordans? Yeah, Croto Rico. That's actually an interesting point. They're getting Hades too. That was announced. That's a big exclusive for them. Oh, retro Jordans? I mean, and that might be a result all digital of just those retro Jordans hitting critical mass in the market. But my experience has been a little bit different than yours. I mean, I never didn't see retro Jordans on store shelves. Maybe not the ones that I wanted, but I mean, so so no, I mean, I don't, I think again, I just think there's value in the Nintendo brand, and that is what people are going to cling to as consumers. That they see that value, and I have to think that we sometimes, I mean, obviously humans are, have we all have our bias, right? I think there's people there who say this thing isn't for me, and they're going to say, you know what, it's going to fail. I mean, I've seen that people are saying, oh, this thing's going to fail. Yeah, I don't disagree with that all digital. I mean, I think some people aren't spending money like they used to. Absolutely. There are some people that aren't spending money like they used to. But I mean, if you look at the US economy, which is based on consumption, I mean, consumer spending's still been pretty healthy. I mean, think about that for a sec. We talk about the US economy as an example, solely based on consumption. So it drives the US economy, consumer spending, right? We just consume stuff. Consumer spending's been pretty healthy, mostly. Yeah, Nate. I don't disagree with the lineup in comparison to the Switch. But I mean, for me, it's a matter of FOMO too. Like, am I willing to wait, potentially miss out on Nintendo Switch 2 and not get that one, because who knows what trading value is going to be after launch. That's how I look at it. I mean, the affordability factor. I mean, again, I mean, there's cheaper options on the market, Bender. I mean, even the Switch. And look, and here's the thing: if the Nintendo Switch 2 is released at 450 and the market rejects it, I mean, what is Nintendo going to do? They'll just adjust the price, and then more people will buy it. That's it. I mean, I personally don't think, and again, if you're only looking at the value, if you're only assigning the value or the cost of hardware, right? You're saying, well, you're based on affordability, but that's going to be subjective to each consumer, because each consumer is going to value that ecosystem differently. Some consumers are going to say, you know what, affordability be damned, 450, I want it. You also got to remember that part of that 150 million that Nintendo counts for the Switch isn't just the Nintendo Switch. It's actually the Switch Lite in combination, which is a cheaper SKU. So you got to imagine that a Switch Lite 2 is going to be on the horizon. And if that's a cheaper option, that's probably going to boost those numbers up even more. Again, I don't think they're going to sell 150. I could be wrong, but I think definitely north of 100 million. But I again, I do think that when I look at Nintendo, I think the smartest thing they ever did was consolidate their console and handheld business together. And so there's something to be said to that, for that, where people can play Nintendo IPs on the go, and people place value in those things to be able to play the Switch games on the go. I mean, I don't. I mean, Nate, you say I seen a lot of people regret the Switch Lite purchase in the long run. So I wonder how well a new one will go over if they do one. I mean, the Nintendo Switch Lites has sold well. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm sure there's some people probably aren't happy with it. Just like there's people who aren't happy with the purchase of a PS5, or there's probably people that aren't happy with the purchase of the Nintendo Switch. Every consumer is going to be different. I'm sorry. Listen to my kids playing Fortnite right now. It's hilarious. They're just laughing. It's going to be interesting. Really for me, like when Nintendo announces retail pre-orders, because right now we don't have anything in terms of a pre-order date at retail. Only the Nintendo store. All right, so we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, June 5th will be here sooner than later, and we'll see how this thing does in the next 8 years or so. Logic says Nintendo won't announce those. There'll be individual retail chains, and I expect it would be same day or one day after Nintendo US date. They were originally the same date. All right, I want to move on to Xbox. All right, so Xbox Game Showcase 2025. All right, June 8th, 3 days after Nintendo Switch launches. This is going to be their next big showcase. There we go. Xbox Game Showcase announced for June 8th. Here's what to expect. This is from GameSpot by Eddie. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, Eddie. Your last name, at least. Microsoft has announced the Let me look at this. Clearly, I shop at Dick's Sporting Goods. You're not seeing tires up there anymore. So, what does that tell you? Mike, because I bought a set of new tires. Got the Nitto Ridge Grapplers. And by the way, I know Logic's tired of me hearing me talk about tires, but it's same thing. It's interesting. Like I see some of these conversations. I know sometimes I say, "Oh, we never have these conversations with other consumer products," but actually we do. I experienced this with tires recently, and some people are like poo-pooing a particular tire. It was too expensive. Blah blah. Tires are subjective. There's no such thing as a perfect tire. That's what I learned. Even though I was in search of a perfect tire. All right. Yeah, you know what, Chrono Rig? I was asking. I know Logic was on DPS last night, and I asked him if Forte had talked about that. I don't think they did. I don't think Forte had mentioned it. I'd be just curious to kind of get Forte's thoughts, kind of what he's seeing out there in terms of demand. But the only thing I've any conversation I've had about Nintendo Switch 2 has only been with one person. Well, outside of the podcast, been one person. That was that person I mentioned earlier that said they would pay $700 for a Nintendo Switch 2. All right, so here we go. So June 8th, gonna get details on upcoming Xbox games. There's also gonna be another event, the Outer Worlds 2 Direct. So with the Outer Worlds 2, Direct promises to divulge new gameplay details and developer insights. Obsidian has been cranking out games. So with the same year, we're going to get Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. That's awesome. So, Xbox Game Showcase promises details on upcoming first-party Xbox games, as well as incredible new titles from our third-party partners across the globe. Takes place on Sunday, June 8th, beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. UK time. And then shortly after that, the Outer Worlds 2 Direct will follow. This format is keeping the tradition of Microsoft as a company held double feature Xbox game showcases in 2023, 2024. With the main Xbox event followed by briefings for Starfield and then Black Ops 6. You saw that last year, Black Ops 6. The Outer World 2, I've already read that. Never mind. The briefing will stream live in more than 4 languages. That is wonderful. Xbox Game Showcase will follow the Summer Games Fest show on June 6th, where lots of announcements and reveals are planned. This is a busy time, according to the article, as the Nintendo Switch 2 arrives on June 5th. Yes, this is going to be a great week for gaming, by the way. Nintendo Switch 2, Summer Games Fest, Xbox Showcase. What a great time to be a gamer. You feel bad for the Fallout Pact? Marathon, yeah. We get some marathon stuff this weekend. I won't be around to cover that. Marathon's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Extraction shooter. Yeah, Mr. Grimm, I'm with you. I wouldn't pay $700 either, but each his own. But you're also talking to someone to pay $2,000 for a set of tires, and probably looking to spend another $2,000 on a set of rims. Look at $4,000 right there. Got to find new hobbies, more cost-effective hobbies. Where was I? So, what does everyone want to see at the Xbox Showcase? I can tell you, I want to see more Ninja Gaiden. That's what I want to see. Obviously, we're going to get to see Outer Worlds too, which is awesome. I'd like to see more Gears of War E-Day. Some a Fable update. But there are some rumors that pointed to Persona 4 remake, which would be cool. Minecraft Dungeons 2. I'm not really a Minecraft person, but that would be cool. I mean, Dungeons wasn't bad. I played Dungeons with my kids. That was fun to play. But I definitely would love to see Gears of War E-Day. I mean, that was such a great reveal trailer. No, not sure they could. Ninja Gaiden fan, are you? Brady says, not sure they could top that Ninja Gaiden 4 reveal. By the way, Brady, is that you lifting weights? Is that actually you? Yeah, I'm not. You know what, Mr. Grimm, I'm not. Yeah, Capone, I agree. They have some announcements. That's what's exciting. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Isn't Fable supposedly having rough go in development? I don't know all the details of Fable development. Let me see something here real quick. All right. So to answer your question, just here's something I could pull up, Mr. Grimm. Playground Games has mentioned that they've encountered technical issues with adapting the Forza Tech engine for an RPG. Um, the game was initially slated for 2025 release, has been delayed tonight. We know it's been delayed till 2026. But that's all I've been able to find online so far. Yeah, so let me know in the comments section what games you'd like to see at the Xbox showcase. Again, I've mentioned mine, the ones that I like to see. Man, I tell you, June's going to be awesome. I mean, I'm just thinking about the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, Summer Games Fest the day after, the Xbox showcase. Hopefully, we get some PlayStation stuff. Clockwork Revolution. Okay, I forgot about Clockwork Revolution. Gears Collection Ultimate Edition. PlayStation. PlayStation has no games. That is hilarious. Look, I've talked about on this show. I have been a little. I feel like PlayStation's been a little bit too quiet. I like to see more from their first party. Banjo. Croderick said Banjo. I think Toys for Bob had recently commented. Developer Toys for Bob, they'd be interested in working on another Banjo. New Tomb Raider. Okay. I didn't see that game out here down under. I didn't get to see that. Hey, Mr. Grip, Dark Ages looks pretty badass. When he got into the mech, oh my gosh, and riding the dragon, like that is like I was like, okay, I'm sold. That's all I needed to see. A mech and a dragon. I'm good. I need to see, I'm not sure what did I you know what? I think I know what game you're talking about here down under. I think actually Logic, I think it talked Logic, if you're still in the chat, I think Logic had talked about Damon X Machina. I think is that kind of like a Transformers type game. I say Transformers, but I do think I knew what you're talking about. All right, but real quick, show of hands, who watches professional wrestling here in the show, in the live chat? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Of course, no one's gonna. Oh, T-Rock. T-Rock. What's going on, T-Rock? T-Rock 40, the $5 super chat. I want to see Gears E-Day and day and date on PlayStation at the showcase, so Broomstick's hair will fold like Charlie Brown's Chris. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Come on. Let's be nice here, T-Rock. Although the purveyor of misinformation, I don't yeah, I might let that one slide. That guy has literally, I mean, I don't understand how you can podcast as much as he does and get it wrong. I get it. It's his opinion, but opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Like at least oh, like look, again, I'm not saying we get it right here all the time, but at least take the time. to do some research, subtract the emotion out of it, and just like have a just genuine conversation instead of like peddling conspiracy theories and media bias and all this other shit, making wacky market analysis that aren't based on any data or nothing. Just stop. He loves it. Oh, that's also Capono. I bring it up because last Friday, we'll see if they meet in the ring again. But last Friday, Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton, who's the current women's champion on SmackDown, had a very interesting war of words. Got a little personal. Charlotte Flair, who's recently divorced to professional wrestler Andrade. They were married for 2 years. She filed for this is her third marriage. And Stratton made a reference about the fact that she is going to fail in this match the way she's failed outside of the ring, where she's 0-3, which is a clear reference to her divorces. And then Charlotte, I don't know if she expected. I don't know. I don't know if this thing was scripted, but if it wasn't, I mean, this is professional wrestling at its heights, where you start to question: is this real or is this scripted? Right? It sounds personal. That's my point, Brian East. And Charlotte Flair goes, I'm sorry, Tiffany Stratton. She's dating Ludwig Kaiser is who she's dating. And she said, and Charlotte Flair response to Tiffany Stratton's 0-3 comment was, "Hey, that's why Ludwig slides into my DMs." I was like, this is personal. But you know what? This is the kind of thing that gets people talking. And this is where you don't know, are they breaking kayfabe? Is this a shoot? Is this scripted? You don't know. That is peak professional wrestling, by the way. D-Rock says, I watched wrestling at its peak Attitude Era, watched The Undertaker versus Mankind. Oh my God, that Hell in the Cell when Undertaker threw Mankind off the top of the cage, off the top of the Hell in the Cell and on the table. I just remember JR being, by God, they've killed him. And then he got choke slammed through the top of the ring, to the top of the Hell in the Cell, fell to the canvas, and had his tooth go through his lip. Yes, I remember that, T-Rock, when they got when Triple H kidnapped Stephanie Meyer at the Las Vegas wedding chapel, and then they ended up getting married in real life. So I thought this was great. I think that the WWE is going to have a problem again with having too much talent. It's kind of interesting. It's similar to what AEW. I thought AEW a couple years ago brought in a lot of WWE talent that got released, and I think there was just too much talent on the roster, not enough TV time, and I think I'm wondering if that's going to be an issue with WWE moving forward. And I think that's why you see them send some of the wrestlers over to TNA now. Oh, the Cena betrayal was great. But yeah, I mean, it was that that promo, whatever it was, between Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair was great. At least I thought it was great. All right. Hayabusa, most of it is scripted, but sometimes the wrestlers will kind of go off script a little bit. They'll improvise. Sometimes that's based off of like fan reaction, how the fans are reacting. That's something Stone Cold talked about. God, Shane McMahon jumping off the Titantron, that was insane. So that was wild. I remember that. Shane McMahon getting thrown through glass by what's his name? Who was the guy? Kurt Angle. That was insane. Like the glass didn't break; he landed on his head. I know people say, "Oh, wrestling's fake." The physicality of it's not fake. These guys get beat up pretty bad. Oh, I've actually seen that T Rock. I've seen where they watch the Hell in the Cell. Oh, wrestling events are a lot of fun in person. All right, let me pull up this article here. Well, Sony has Sony gone to the whale too many times with The Last of Us, because here we are with The Last of Us Complete Collector's Edition. Pre-orders available now. Sony. The Last of Us Complete Collector's Edition launches on PS5 July 10th. Includes a bunch of extras. I mean, I'm laughing because it's just funny at this point. It's $110. Comes in a nice box here. Hey, look, and just in time for the excitement to wear off of Last of Us Season 2, which is coming out April 13th. Actually, in 2 days, we get The Last of Us Season 2. I need to figure out how to watch that. I'm going to be traveling, so. Last of Us Season 2. So $110. So The Last of Us Complete Editions includes physical copies of The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster for PS5, as well as the Left Behind prequel chapter DLC. It also includes a select of I can't even talk. It also includes a selection of physical collectibles. Steelbook case with new cover art featuring Ellie, The Last of Us American Dreams comic issues 1 through 4 with new cover art. 4 lithographic art prints. Thank you letter from the games writer director Neil Druckmann, and collector's box. Pre-orders available exclusively at PlayStation Direct. Note that you'll have to sign in with your PlayStation Network account and wait in a digital queue to pre-order. So this is it. This is it right here. This actually, you know what? I think this looks pretty cool. I like the lithographic art prints. I wish they would. They sold those separately, I would definitely buy them. But I'm not. I've played The Last of Us 1 and 2 already. I'm not. I'm not interested. But I understand that this is for so the diehard Last of Us fans, and for those newer entries into the PlayStation ecosystem that didn't play The Last of Us. This is for them too, and for people who may be introduced to The Last of Us Season 2 on HBO, and may want to go out and buy a PlayStation to play the video game. Also, the Last of Us limited edition DualSense controller that comes out. Actually, already came out. $85. There you go. Anyone pick up the Last of Us limited edition DualSense controller? I have not. I completely forgot it was coming out. But it says odd because you can get both separately for cheaper though. You can, but you also don't get some of those extra perks that I just mentioned. The Last of Us is getting Skyrim treatment. Yeah, I mean they are squeezing those pennies. Oh, Capona, I just didn't even think about that. If you haven't bought a PS5 Pro yet, you might want to pull the trigger in case the prices go up. If you want, oh yeah, oh man, I didn't think about that. Although I wonder if Sony, I would imagine, probably has some inventory stockpiled, maybe. But yeah, that to Brian's point, that tariff situation, a little bit of a wild card. I'm actually glad that I bought the truck when I did, because truck prices are going to go up soon too. I know there was a pause on tariffs. I have to go back. Maybe they won't be affected. Truck prices won't be impacted, but eek. Oh, you know what? I've been paying attention to the GPU market right now, Capono. I mean, I was looking at buying another rig end of the year, but I might wait at this point. I mean, depending on, you know, how that market looks and how the tariffs impact GPU, the PC market, I may just wait. I mean, that's my assumption too, Mr. Graham. I mean, I don't know for certain, but you would imagine, right? It's not a pause; it's a tactical retreat framed as a pause. Somebody said, "Hey, they're retaliating. They're not. They're not. They're calling your bluff." Oh, I need to see that Chrono Rig. I wasn't. I'll have to watch those videos. I know I've heard a couple economists talk about the iPhone. If the iPhone was made here in the U.S., it'd be like $3,500 instead of like 12 or 1,300. Like $3,500 for an iPhone? What? There was a study. I don't know. There was a study about I forget who it was. I want to say Cato Institute, but probably not. It's probably not right. It was a think tank that did a study that I believe it was a conservative think tank, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and I might be mistaken on that, whether or not they're a conservative think tank, but anyhow, there was a number out there that like 80% of Americans would like that get manufacturing back, but only 1 in 5 are interested in actually doing manufacturing work. So there you go. Um, the U.S. has been able to accumulate a lot of its wealth by providing services to the rest of the globe through a free open global market. I mean, if you look at the economic growth of the U.S. the last couple of years, last decade, I mean, we are just we are a behemoth of an economy. And you look at like a state like Mississippi, which isn't considered a wealthy state here in the US. Like Mississippi's GDP is higher than like the UK's. I think Texas, if Texas was a country, I think it'd have like the seventh or eighth highest GDP. Don't quote me on this. I haven't looked at these numbers in a while, but you can look it up. Look at like Google like Texas GDP if it was its own country or something. Yeah, I mean, to your point here, Denner, you start taxing digital services. That's the thing. That's the retaliation I talked about earlier that impacts U.S. businesses. It's not just, oh, we're going to tariff people. They're going to retaliate. That's going to hurt U.S. companies. We make a lot of money providing services globally. So, I mean, I really hope these tariffs don't impact games. I hope that, and if they do impact games in a way that makes the hobby that we enjoy more expensive, I hope people speak out. Think about what that project consultant said to me that with Nintendo Switch 2, that if tariffs affect the cost of that is the catalyst to have this conversation. And I hope that's the case. Yeah, Capote. Yeah, it seems crazy, but in reality, I mean, we're such a economic force, and that's why I never bought into the rhetoric of we. that we were somehow in decline as an economy, that the country was in decline. I mean, you could argue certain aspects of, and some of that may be subjective. You could argue certain aspects of decline in this country. I would argue healthcare is probably in decline here. But I wouldn't describe as the U.S. of having some kind of economic decline where we need to totally switch the formula and totally flip everything upside down. I mean, there's just I don't think people realize there. We talk about the the gap between the must-haves and the or the haves and haves. I'm sorry, must-have the haves and have-nots. I think it's a fair conversation, but I would have never, and I never characterized, and that's why I didn't agree with that narrative that was out there that somehow there was. And I'm not saying that people aren't feeling pain here, but I think generally speaking, I don't think there's just this doom and gloom scenario of this economic downturn that our economy's failing. I mean, the numbers just don't show that. I mean, again, I'm not saying that they aren't affordability issues. Those things certainly should be addressed. Just generally speaking, the overall health of the economy and how much wealth we've obtained, compared to the rest of the globe. I mean, there's a lot of wealth here. So anyhow, that's just, my 2 cents. I'm not going to get too much into it because I'll go down a rabbit hole. But anyhow, that is it for BRAP tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining me live this evening. Again, we did an early show because I have some stuff I need to take care of before I head out of town for the weekend. Actually taking a few days off. So we'll be back next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So our regularly scheduled time at 8 p.m. Friday night. We'll be back at that time. I didn't see that chrono rig. Wow. So yeah, again, I mean, that retaliation is going to hurt U.S. companies. So, but yeah, we'll be back again 8 o'clock Eastern time next Friday. But let me know, if you catch the show later on, let me know in the comment section what you think about how well the Nintendo Switch 2 will sell. Let me know what your thoughts on the Xbox Showcase 2025, what you want to see. Let me know if you think, let me know if you're going to pick up The Last of Us Complete Collector's Edition. So on that note, I want to give a big shout out to the rest of the panel who unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. Slow-Mo, Gaming Forte, B-Money, and Game Logic. Big shout out to those gentlemen, and thank you to everyone in the live chat for hanging out with me this evening. Really appreciate the time as always. Please do me a favor, hit that like button. Do the YouTube thing, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. And everyone have a great weekend gaming, and we'll see you next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care.